everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much for coming to join our Teaching in Australia webinar. I'm just going to get my screen shared here. If anyone can either give me a thumbs up or comment in the chat that you can hear me and see my screen just before I get things going, that would be great. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. I am sure that we will have a couple more people trickling in the next few minutes. But I recognize that most of you are teachers or doing your schooling right now and are probably exhausted after the first few weeks of school. So I will jump right into things and try and keep it brief. So just a quick introduction. My name is Victoria. I am based just outside of Toronto, and I've been working with ANZUK UK for a little over a year and a half now in this role. I actually graduated from Ottawa back in 2021, right smack dab in the middle of the COVID pandemic, off again, on again schooling situation, and made my way over to Australia in December of 2022, where I worked and taught in Melbourne for a year and absolutely loved it. I loved it so much that when I came home, I wanted to tell everyone about this experience, and I've been lucky enough to come on with a company full-time to do this and get to share my experiences and my knowledge with all of you. These are a few pictures of myself in my year living there, exploring the Great Ocean Road and Tasmania. So tonight we're just going to be going over what ANZ UK is, what we do, why go teach overseas, the different visa options, as well as the location options in Australia that we offer, the types of work available, and then a bit more of the logistics as far as finding accommodation, and then what the next steps in your journey look like. And I will absolutely save time at the end for questions. It is a solo show tonight, so if you do have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If they are relevant to the slide, I will discuss them there. Otherwise, I will get to them at the end. If it is a really specific situation, I am happy to set up a one-to-one call with you and go over more questions. So we'll just be keeping things fairly general for tonight. All right. So ANZ UK, I know some of you have found us through either our university visits or social media. Basically, we are a teaching company that operates bringing teachers into Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. We have over 21 offices globally, including scattered throughout Europe and in Canada as well. And we've been running for 20 years now, helping dedicated teachers land in the right classroom. This is my favorite slide every time because I think it's so silly to say, why teach abroad? Why not teach abroad? It is such an incredible opportunity to get to grow personally, to grow your career, and to gain some life experience that you might not otherwise get. The personal growth of stepping out of your comfort zone, developing cultural awareness, experiencing living in another country is absolutely fantastic. A lot of our teachers who go over as well are newer teachers, either straight out of their B.Ed or a couple of years from graduating. So it's great for career development if you want to see different classrooms, learn different curriculum, grow, help gain some references. It can also be quite financially rewarding. And then, of course, the life experience to make friends all over the world and get to do something that not many people will ever get to do in their lives. All right, let's jump right into Teach in Australia. The last thing before I talk about this, as I mentioned, we are a global company, so we do also work with teachers in New Zealand and the UK. If that is something of interest to you, please feel free to send me an email and I'd be happy to share with you more resources about work in those countries as well. Okay, so the first thing that you need to be able to teach in Australia is working rights, which means you need to get a visa that gives you working rights in the country of Australia. The three main options that our educators go over on is either a working holiday visa, a skill shortage visa, or a skilled worker visa. The working holiday visa. This is the visa that I went over on. It is the visa that most of the educators we work with on a temporary basis are going over on. It's a really easy visa. It gives you 1 year of working rights in the country. For Canadians, that is for those under 35. If you are a US citizen, it only goes up to 30 at this time. The main requirement is that you have a valid passport and proof of funds. So you need to show that you're able to support yourself to get to the country and get in the country, which is the equivalent of 5,000 Australian dollars, typically around 400 or 4,500 Canadian, even less American, depending on the conversion rate. The visa costs $670. It's usually granted quite quickly, but we typically recommend people apply for it about 6 months before they plan on arriving. Because of the age restriction, this is not a great visa for everyone. If you are within the window, it's fantastic. If you are outside of that 30 or 35-year age gap, you'll need to be looking at something that gives you working rights for a little bit longer. Yes, absolutely, permanent positions are available. So for permanent positions, you'll be looking at a more long-term visa. So there's two main visas. One of them is the 482 Temporary Skill Shortage Visa. This is basically known as the sponsorship visa. It's open to all ages. There is a restriction for those over 45 as far as staying in Australia after your sponsorship is done, but it's not a total rule out. Again, we can discuss if that's your specific situation. You need to have at least 1 year of teaching experience post-qualification to do this. So if you taught before and then got qualified, you still need to have 1 year once you're fully qualified in Australia's eyes. The sponsorship will last for 2 to 4 years, depending on if you're primary or secondary. There are fantastic pathways to permanent residency and citizenship once that visa is completed. A big thing here is you are tied to your employer. So you'll accept a 4-year contract, you are tied to that employer for the entire 4 years, and you must finish out that contract to be eligible for the next stages. We currently only work with sponsored roles, typically in the Victoria region around where Melbourne is. We do see some as well in Northern Territory, sometimes more rural areas, specifically looking for roles in special education for primary and secondary, as well as secondary maths, science, and English. We do have one school as well that we're working with that has quite a few roles open, including humanities, physical education, a bit more outside of the downtown core, but a really great option for someone looking to settle in long term. If that one is not available for you or you want to keep your options open, don't be tied to an employer. There is also the skilled worker visa. There's a few different options of this visa depending if you want to go state sponsored and apply for one specific state, go rural, or be more generalist. Basically, this is a list of professions that are eligible to apply for this. And right now, both primary teachers and secondary teachers are on this list. It grants a person full working rights and you can choose where you work. So this is a really phenomenal option. If you know you want to migrate to Australia, this is a great visa to be on because it gives you the same working rights as an Australian citizen, meaning you can be more picky about what schools you're applying to, about what roles you'd be going for. If you want to start out on a more casual basis and then fall into something long term, it's a really great option in that regard. It does have higher upfront costs and it is a longer wait time. We typically see it can take up to and about a year, and the costs are quite high, but it's a fantastic way to head over, especially if you want to stay long term. It does also have pathways to permanent residency and citizenship. Both of these visas also allow you to bring on a partner as well as dependents. There's additional costs for that, but it's a really great option. If this is a visa that you are interested in, we recommend going and talking to an immigration agency as they'll be able to best guide you through which visa pathways to take, what the requirements are. We aren't a visa agency, so we can't help you through that. But if this is a pathway that you have already started and are now looking for work, then we can jump in. I don't have the specific costs on this visa. I know that there are quite a few considerations. I believe it starts out around 4,000 for the applicant, but then there's a bunch of other costs that go on top of that, such as you'll need your ANZUK skills assessment, which is another $1,000. You'll need to get criminal reference checks. You'll need to get medical checks. There's additional fees for applicants and things like that. So isn't a cheap visa by any means, but a great pathway for long term. Okay, so if you are able to, and once you have acquired working rights, that is where we come in. So we are there to help you actually land the right role once you are in Australia. We work with quite a few different departments and divisions depending on our space in Australia, including early childhood, teaching, support staff, outside of school hours care, and then executive opportunities. Now, beyond just having a visa, the other thing that you'll need to be able to teach in Australia is getting your teaching registration. If you are an early childhood educator or support staff, this will look different for you. Again, please email me. I can absolutely send you more resources on those specific things. But as far as teaching, the requirements are quite similar to what is required in Canada. So if you have been qualified in Canada, should be good. If you've received your qualification elsewhere, including throughout the state, it's important to read this over carefully and make sure that your qualification lines up with what Australia is looking for. So it is state by state how they qualify their teachers, but the standard across is pretty much the same, which is you must have completed 4 years of full-time post-secondary education. One of those years has to be an approved primary or secondary teaching qualification. So for Canadian teachers, that's your Bachelor of Education. It might also be a Master's of Education, Master's of Teaching for those qualifying outside of Canada. Within that teaching qualification, you need to have a minimum of 45 days of supervised practicum in either a primary or secondary setting. Junior intermediate is fine. You'd still be within that range. Um, if you completed your studies in any language other than English, so including French for our French Canadians, you will be required to show your English language competency through an academic English test. You're required to get the levels 7 for reading and writing, 8 for speaking and listening. If you did any schooling in a language other than English, you will be required to do this, even if you are a fluent English speaker. It's just part of the process, unfortunately. Okay, so where can you go in Australia? Australia is obviously a massive country. We've got great opportunities all across the country, including in Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, the Australian Capital Territory, and Western Australia. Our offerings differ a little bit in each place. If you are coming over and looking for a permanent role, we have great connections in a lot of different places. So we can absolutely connect you with the right team in the right spot. If you're coming over on a more temporary basis on that working holiday visa, might just be staying for 6 months to a year, then your options kind of vary about what we have in which spots. All right, in New South Wales, we source for permanent roles, primary and secondary. We currently have offices in Sydney, Tamworth, and Orange. We do offer relief teaching. So this is the same as substitute teaching, supply teaching. In Australia, they call it CRT, which is casual relief teaching, which is available in Sydney in New South Wales. We have that offering for early childhood educators as well as primary, secondary, and special needs educators. Sydney is also wonderful because they hold community events. So if you're looking to meet some other international educators, this is a really great spot. The important thing to know with Sydney and the state of New South Wales is it is a state where you cannot submit for your teaching license before you move to Australia. So you must arrive in Australia to complete your Working with Children check. And then once that's completed, then you can apply for your NESA registration, which is the New South Wales Education Standards Authority. Thank you. This can take a total of like 4 to 6, potentially longer weeks once you're in the country. So please keep in mind, if you are interested in heading to Sydney or New South Wales, you do need to give yourself extra time after you arrive to get your qualification before you'll be able to teach. Queensland and Northern Territories. This is, again, a great spot that a lot of people want to live in and work. We are sourcing for permanent roles in primary and secondary. We also work with LTO type contract roles in Queensland. We don't have CRT work at this time, but we do work with contract roles for those on the working holiday visa or on a skilled visa. There are also some regional opportunities that can come with accommodation provided, relocation incentives. So if you're interested in living in more remote rural areas, this can be a really great opportunity to have some of your um, payments covered and help make the transition a little bit easier. Now, to apply for your QCT, that's the Queensland College of Teachers, this can be done while it is all overseas. Queensland, unfortunately, is still using the old mail system. Yes, absolutely, there is ECE, Shirley. We have a whole ECE presentation as well that I can send you after this. QCT, unfortunately, is through the mail, so the processing times can be a lot longer to take, usually looking upwards of 4 months. So if that's the area that you want to be living and working in, definitely something to get started on sooner rather than later. $312 for the application fee and $100 per year to keep that up. All right. I also missed out, just before I jump into Victoria, I missed out on a slide on Western Australia here. Perth is one of our newer offices for the schools teams. We do have some CRT work as well as contract roles available out there, as well as permanent opportunities and ECE work. So if Western Australia is where you see yourself settling, we can absolutely connect you with our team there. Victoria is saved for last because it is for sure our most popular area. It's where we started. It's where our business really is thriving the most in Australia. So we have quite a few different offerings there, including CRT work for ECE, primary, secondary, special needs education. We also have a program there called our Ambassador Program, which I can go into more detail on one-to-one calls. But it basically means for those who are flexible and willing to take work with a variety of different schools, travel a bit more, we're able to have a guaranteed work scheme through the busy parts of the year to guarantee to you, our educators, that you'll be able to get work every day, and helps to guarantee our schools that we'll be able to fill all of their needs as well. We are also sourcing for permanent roles in ECE, primary, secondary, and special education needs. Again, this is an area that we sometimes see sponsorship opportunities as well. So if you are looking to come over on that sponsorship visa, this is where we see the most. We also work on leadership and executive roles down here. We work in the metro of Melbourne, but also have regional offices as well. We also have an office in Geelong, which is just about an hour outside, which is slightly more rural, but still offers you close enough to the city for those wanting to be on the coast. We've got 4 offices across there. Educator Events also has phenomenal public transportation. So for those newer teachers who are looking to come over and maybe do the CRT work, supply teach for 6 months to a year, it's a really great option. You definitely don't need a car to get around, and it allows you to explore the city and transition really easily. The state of Victoria recently changed their qualification process. This came through in July. It can be done overseas. There is now 2 parts to this. Part 1 is getting your overseas qualification assessment. Now, this is a really great option for all of our educators, especially if you're not sure if your qualifications will match up with what they're looking for. So basically, for this one, you're going to be proving your qualifications. So submitting transcripts, submitting degrees, submitting proof of your supervised practicum days, and you send that off and they will approve whether you are valid to hold registration or not valid. You can do this at any time. It costs 285 Australian dollars, and this needs to be done to be able to actually register to work in the state of Victoria. So part 2 is then registering. You can only complete this 3 months before your arrival if you have evidence of employment. So if you're planning on working with ANZUK UK and you've either landed a contract role, have a sponsored position, or have signed on to be a CRT with us, then you can apply for it prior to your arrival. It is a $230 application fee, and there's also an annual fee of $110. Okay. As far as actual teaching goes, the biggest difference that you'll find in Australia is that their school year looks totally different to what we are used to here in North America. So their school year starts at the end of January. For 2026, it's going to be starting January 27th, and it's split into 4 terms. Australians really love to work hard, play hard, so they've given themselves lots of great breaks throughout the year. So they get a 2-week break in between each term. So you can see here in April, July, and September, they get 2 weeks off. They also love to throw a holiday in as well to make sure that they get good rest. I always said my favorite holiday was the Friday before the AFL Grand Final, which is like their Super Bowl. Don't know why you need the Friday off beforehand, but nevertheless, I was happy to take it off. And then their school year wraps up at the end of December, right as they head into their Christmas holidays or their summer holidays. So if you are looking to arrive into Australia, if you are looking for a long-term role, January is typically the best time to arrive. That's when we see most permanent positions come up as available, most long-term contracts. If you're coming in as a CRT to supply teach, our busiest times are terms 2 and terms 3, April through September. But we can absolutely discuss and find when the best time is for you to arrive. Each state might have a slight variation on these dates, but it is pretty much the same across the country. All right, so as I mentioned, there's 3 main types of work offerings that we do. The first one being supply day-to-day work. So this is available for those coming over on a skilled worker visa or for those coming over on a working holiday visa. If you want some flexibility, teach in a variety of different settings, this is a great option for you. There's also fixed term contracts. So this could be from as short as a 2-week long vacation leave up to a full school year maternity coverage. That would be you're working at the same school every day. It's a long-term role. If you're coming on a working holiday visa, there are some restrictions around these that we can discuss, but this is also a great option for those coming over on a skilled worker visa. If you're coming over on a sponsored visa, you would be getting a permanent contract. This is also available for those coming over on a skilled worker visa, where you are becoming a part of the school community. We're able to assist with landing you your long-term role where you're joining the school full on. The work as a CRT is fantastic because it offers that flexibility if you want to travel around, maybe you want to take a Friday off and go down to Tasmania for a long weekend. It has that great opportunity. You can build relationships and network with schools. If you start out as a CRT as well, there's always opportunities to move into contract roles as they pop up, get a range of settings, and diversify your experience. As I mentioned, in Melbourne, we have the Ambassador Program. That's our guaranteed work program. We can go over exactly what this looks like, but you'd be working at a range of schools across Melbourne. You're working in a variety of classrooms, including mainstream, special education settings. Special education system is also quite different in Australia. I really loved the way that they have done it. So absolutely an exciting area to take part in and learn about a bit more. Contract and permanent roles, of course, as well, can be anything from short-term blocks with schools directly all the way to a permanent role. Great because you know where you're going every day. You can have that career development. You can implement your own systems, plan your own lessons, be a part of the school. There's also, of course, potential for permanent opportunities if you're working directly with schools. All right, that's most of the bulky stuff. As far as the administrative stuff and how does this actually work, one of the main questions we get from people when moving to Australia is how do I find somewhere to live? So we are not like an international school program that has housing. So we don't have housing for our educators besides some of those rural incentive programs. But what we do is try to provide you as much information as we can to help you find accommodation. So we typically recommend arranging accommodation for a short time when you arrive and then looking for the right place once you get there in person. You'll find that Australians are much more laid back with their rental programs. Typically, postings for October 1st won't be coming up until about this time. So looking 2 to 3 weeks beforehand is plenty of time to find a spot. We generally recommend moving in with housemates if you're traveling solo, especially for any of the time less than a year. To join a existing tenancy agreement is the easiest way, but there's of course also options for solo accommodation if you prefer that. The Metro, Melbourne, and Sydney area are going to be more competitive, so you need to do your research, kind of know what avenues to be looking at before you get over there. We can also act as a rental referee. So if you are on our ambassador agreement or if you have a contract role, we can act as that referee for you. We have a Facebook group, which is a great option. There's also a bunch of different apps and websites to find new leases or accommodation. Facebook groups are really, really popular in Australia for finding accommodation. So as much as it's not maybe the norm in Canada, what we're used to for finding accommodation, this is definitely the main way to find, and you can get a good view of postings, even joining ahead of time to kind of see average costs in different neighborhoods, what types of postings are popping up is a really good way to get an idea of accommodation and price of living. Getting around is also going to be an important question, depending on how long you're looking to be there for. So for those looking to be there long term, maybe buying a car is the best option for you. If you are also living outside of a major city, including in the regional spots, it might be your necessary requirement. If you are living in a city like Sydney or Melbourne, there's phenomenal public transit that you can absolutely rely on to get to and from work. We also know a lot of our educators buy bikes while they're down there. It's a great option to stay active, save money, and get around quickly. And there's no snow, so you don't have to worry about not being able to go and ride your bike on the snowy days. You're living in Australia. And then, of course, by foot, if you are living in a good area where it is very walkable. We have area guides for each of the areas that we work in. That includes information about the popular suburbs, the type of rent, the average rent prices, things to do, all of that stuff. So if you are interested in a specific spot, please, of course, let us know, and we're happy to provide you with as much resources as we can. Okay, finally, if this has captivated your interest, you want to learn more, you are interested in doing this, it's never too early to start the process. The first step is having some initial contact with the Canadian team. We are a small team here in Canada. It's myself and my coworker Olivia. So you'll set up a call with one of the two of us. We can answer any initial questions that you have, go through the process. We're both Canadian teachers who've done this ourselves, so we totally understand the nerves, the fears, the questions, the excitement, and we're there to help guide you through and give you a better timeline as to how this process works. Once you've done that, you've had some time to think about it, you know what you want to do, is registering to work with ANZUK UK. So this is a totally free service. There is no cost to you to register. Our registration basically looks like going over what you're looking for, what you're interested in, making sure that we are a match to work with, and then getting some references, whether that is associate teachers for our students who are currently going through school, or principals or vice principals from schools that you've worked at, ensuring that we are happy to hire you and put you forward with schools. Once you have completed your registration process, you'll get your contact from a global consultant. So you will be assigned a local consultant wherever you're moving. So whether you're going to live in Brisbane, in Sydney, in Melbourne, we have someone who is based out of there who will be your local liaison. They'll give you a call, again, find out what you're looking for as far as work, either start putting you forward for schools if you are looking for a contract role ahead of your arrival, or just helping go over the process, again, answering any questions they have. They're a really great resource to chat about everything locally, because this is someone who lives and works there. The compliance, we will give you a guide to help you with how to obtain your visa. That's for the working holiday visa only. If you are going through the skilled worker visa, like I said, we recommend talking to a immigration agency, but we can help explain to you and help guide you through getting a visa, getting your teaching license, police checks, and then all of the other little things to think about as far as making the move abroad. Once you're there, you are clear for work, you've arrived, you'll go into the office, you'll meet the teams there, you'll get all your paperwork done to make sure that you are up to date and ready to work. And then finally, step 6, you're in the classroom. The teaching support doesn't end there. We offer PD sessions, both in person and virtually. We have a wonderful program called our Growth Hub that has wonderful e-learning sessions for professional development that you can access as well. I also just saw a question come through that you are based in the UK. We have a whole UK team. So we can absolutely connect you with someone based in the UK. That's no problem. Okay, finally, I think I've gone through most of this, but why teach and travel with us? Why teach and travel with ANZ UK? We've got support across the globe for you. So while you're in Canada, we have our team here to help you with everything on this side, and then we have your team in the local offices as well. We are happy to help you with your visa, with your teaching, any questions that you have. We also host events. We host pre-departure events as well as arrival events. So if you are located near a major metro in Canada, we came around through the summer and did events there, which is a great way to meet other educators. If you are not in those areas, we also have post-arrival events. So a great way to go over, meet some other Canadian educators. We also employ locally. We also bring in a ton of educators from the UK, from New Zealand. So great way to meet people. We also have a really phenomenal app called the Ready to Work app that makes finding work really easy, managing work, booking in for your professional development, uploading your certifications, everything is done in one place. So it makes the job aspect of it quite simple. All right, as I mentioned, we have our events, our pre-departure events. We also have exclusive Facebook groups just for our educators. So if you want to meet people before you go or connect or ask questions, we've got Facebook groups for those as well. Okay, questions. The pay, it is going to vary depending on where you are and what you're doing. So everything is set out by the government as far as pay standards. For permanent roles, you will be on a scale depending on your years of experience as well as your qualifications. If you are working as a CRT, there's typically a daily rate set out. Again, that's going to vary state to state what that daily rate is. Some states also it's going to change if you're teaching in independent schools versus government schools. If you have some more information about where you want to go, what you're looking for, I'm happy to chat. Question 1, is there absolutely no fee? Nope, no fee to you. We are, of course, a business, but the schools are paying to work with us. So that's how we operate as a business. This is a totally free service for you to use. The difference between a normal CRT and an ambassador program. So ambassador program is just our guaranteed work program. That basically means if you're flexible, we can guarantee that we will get you work. If we can't get you work for that day, we will still pay you for that day. If you are someone who is only looking to work a couple of days a week or only want to work within a small window, let's say you only want to teach lower primary, don't want to travel too far from your house, ambassador contract might not be available for you. So that would just be a typical CRT. But if you're open and flexible, that would be someone who goes on the ambassador program. The terms and conditions are mainly that it does not run for the full school year. So the first few weeks of school and the last few weeks of school are going to be slower times. So it's not offered during those periods. The exact starting and end date are going to depend on your discussions with your Australian consultant based on where you're living, what you're willing to teach. The other thing is the travel. So traveling is up to 75 minutes on public transportation. So we recommend to our educators to live close to one of the major train stations. There are a ton, I don't have a picture in here, but if you look at the Melbourne transit system online, there's a ton of train systems. It really puts our Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver's to shame. So the maximum is 75 minutes if needed. So those are the main terms and conditions of that. There's a few other things around school holidays and things that we can absolutely go over. Would it be possible to get a permanent role in term 3? Possible, yes. Likely, maybe. It's hard to guarantee anything. It'd be the same here in Canada as like sometimes permanent roles pop up halfway through the school if a teacher leaves for whatever reason, but it's certainly not as common as opportunities in term one. Is the job process competitive? Yes and no. There's a need for teachers, so there definitely is interest in bringing in overseas candidates. Where the job process gets competitive is where you want to live, what specific roles you're looking for. So for example, up in Queensland, a lot of people know about, oh, and I'm blanking on it. Anywhere that's like the beachy areas, Gold Coast, anywhere that a bunch of people want to live, locals really want to live there, those areas are going to be a lot harder to find roles in because they are not struggling to get people to come and live in those places. If you're also looking for a role with a more common background, such as just like a primary generalist, those are often harder to land while you're overseas. A lot of schools want to meet you in person, see what kind of teacher you are, and all of that stuff before they actually are offering long-term permanent positions. How to get into the government secondary school. There's no additional process. I mean, the two things are getting your visa and then getting your teaching qualification. Each state, again, varies slightly. Most states, once you're a qualified teacher, you can work in both government schools as well as the independent institutions. But in New South Wales, for example, you need two different certifications to work in those different schools, but there's nothing else additionally required. Australia does not offer the same relocation program for science teachers, unfortunately. So last year they had the ITRS, which was the Traveller Relocation Program that was being put on by the Australian government to help bring in more overseas teachers. It was not renewed for the 2026 school year. So unfortunately, that is not an option for the next year. Absolutely, we can get you connected with the team in New Zealand, surely. If you're graduating 2027 and you want a permanent role, you need at least 1 year of full-time experience before you're able to get hired over in Australia. So the earliest you'd be looking to go is likely January 2029. At that point, if you're looking to move there permanently full-time, I would recommend talking to an immigration agency in the future. I also don't know what the visas will look like in 2 years. This is an ever-changing process. So it's possible that the visas are the same. It's possible that they've changed. But I would say if you're looking to move permanently, the option would be A, revisit us closer to your actual graduation date to find out if we still see sponsorship opportunities, what's available. But yeah, you'd probably be looking for a 2029 arrival, most likely. 1 year full-time experience. So either supply teaching for a full year or getting a contract role for a full year. But it means a minimum of, I believe, 180 days of teaching experience after your qualification. So any unqualified supply, if you're here in Ontario or no other provinces do that as well, that won't count. You need to have graduated and the dates start from your graduation date. Okay, I can see one more person is typing. I will stay on and answer any questions, but if you don't have any other questions, I will say thank you so much to those of us I can tell it's after 8 o'clock. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I really appreciate you taking time on your evening to come with us. I will stay around and answer these questions. Like I said, if you have more one-to-one questions, I'm happy to set up a call. I will send the recording out to everyone, and I'm always happy to chat. Do you need experience if you want a CRT role? Not necessarily. Your experience in your Bachelor of Education will be totally fine. You would likely be coming over on the working holiday visa for that one, which as long as you're under 30 or 35, depending on what country your passport is from, you are good to come right after you graduate. Olivia, do people find housemates who are also teaching abroad? Absolutely, some do, but people also often live with locals. Um, I will say I personally lived with a great couple who were Australian residents, but a Brit and a Kiwi, and they introduced me to a bunch of their friends, which is a really great way to meet people. But yes, some people meet before they go and try and house search together. Some people tend to live with the locals, more of just a personal preference. Um, So now I will send you this recording as well. If you just want to respond to me with your CV as well, I'll make sure to get in touch with someone at the UK office to reach out to you. If you want to start with CRT and want a permanent role after, again, totally dependent on the visas. So if you want a CRT, you can come over on that working holiday visa, but that only gives you 1 year. There are some ways to extend that we can talk about. Again, these things could change in the next 2 years. So I would say if you want to start out, the working holiday visa is a great option. And then you can look at sponsorship, depending on what you're studying, what's still being offered, or the skilled worker visa, but you still need that full year of experience. And if you come to Australia, you might not get that full year of experience before your visa is up, depending on the time of year, what type of work you're looking for, traveling, all of that stuff. So that's just important to keep in mind for this plan. If you want to end up in Australia long term, an immigration agency is who you want to talk to for sure. That is your best option. Okay, I will end it there. Again, thank you all so much. I'll send out this recording. Please feel free to send me any questions that you have. I'm always happy to chat. And for those of you teaching tomorrow, we are over halfway through September. Best of luck. Thank you so much again for joining me. CRT is casual relief teaching, so like substitute teaching, supply teaching. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.